gamers, gals, and my non-binary pals? It's your boy Stevie, and I'm here to give you the quick and dirty breakdown of crafting, gem guides, every single thing when it comes to this game. This game is very expensive. I won't try and hide that fact. This game is not budget friendly when it comes to building god tier gamer, swag Kage, holy fucking shit, 50 combo negate decks. This is an expensive game. You need a guide when you're coming into this game if you've got poor fiscal management. And I am here to set you on the straight and narrow of how to craft, what to buy, all that sort of good stuff. And I'm just going to give you the quick and dirty rundown. I'm not going to be trying to drag out these as long as possible. I'm just going to give you every essential tip that I wish I had when I started this game, because otherwise I would not have spent so much money on so many gems. So you might know a couple tips, but be sure to stick around for all of them. Let's get started. The number one and most obvious tip I can give any new player coming into Master Duel: do not buy anything that is a normal pack. These packs are garbage. They're specifically designed to have a ton of random garbage dog shit. Like, look at the URs in this. Sure, there are like a couple good UR generic staples. When you look at the Rivals of Legend, what do you have in this list? Nothing but garbage nostalgia bait. What do you look at when you see the Master Pack? What is included in this pack? Literally every single card. The odds of you pulling the card that you need from one of these specific packs is literally next to nothing. Always buy secret packs, because secret packs are part of more archetype related cards, and you will have an exponentially higher chance of pulling the specific URs you need, as well as saving you a lot of gems, dust, and money, most importantly, in the future. The only time I would ever recommend anyone buy Master Pack are the special bundle deals, because you're basically guaranteed a high impact staple, being the URs of Solemn Judgment, Lightning Storm, and Ash Blossom, all just amazing cards in their own right, and I feel like these are the best bang for your buck in regards to bundle pack deals. A little bonus tip: get the Duel Pass. It's good. It will literally give you your gems back. Get this as soon as possible. The number two thing is find a deck you want to build. Do not be schizophrenic like me, and you're just building like 500 different decks. Like, I built Kraken Control alongside True Draco, alongside ABC, alongside VW, alongside Invoke. I built so many decks, just bits and pieces out of so many different archetypes. I spread all of my gems super thin, and I ended up just sort of fucking myself. I sort of told myself, oh, I'm only ever going to play like one or two decks. That is not true. You are going to be invested in multiple decks, and it is up to you to make sure you're spending your gems wisely so that you're able to max out one deck before trying to jump ship to another and end up with like 5 different decks that are all kind of shit because they're all unfinished, unoptimized, that sort of deal. Be sure to focus in on a deck you want to build first and foremost. Obviously, you could just tell yourself that, oh, I'm just gonna buy a bunch of Smurf burner accounts. Do you really want to grind out those solo missions for like 10 hours? Do you really want to grind out those daily missions and that battle pass for like another 10 hours? Do you really want to redo the tutorials? Like, sure, you can do that, and that is always up to your right. But again, I personally just don't think it is worth your time to spend literally 20 hours just grinding those 20 to 25k gems on a fresh new account, when you could just be wise with your gem spending and probably max out 1 or 2 decks on your first run through of an account. Tip number 3: once you find a deck you want to build, be sure you are crafting the core first. The core is the most essential part. The staples can always come later, but always focus on maxing out your core. Think about your deck and what cards are essential to play. You cannot play Virtual World without True King of All Calamities. You cannot play Virtual World without your Phantom Knives of Break Swords, or your Lulus, or your Lao Laos, or your Pot of Prosperities, or that sort of stuff. Anything that's a staple, worry about that later. Stuff like Maxi, stuff like Ash Blossom, stuff like Valor, stuff like Skill Drain. Do not worry about those cards now. Focus on getting your core, and all the other stuff will come later. Just focus on your core. That is the number one thing I can say when it comes to spending your crafting gem material. You've got your core built, you've got a bunch of gems saved up, and you're asking yourself, what staples should I buy? Should I buy Ash Blossom? Should I buy Valor? Should I buy Maxi? Should I buy blah 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 blah? No, do not touch those. Ask yourself, what staples does your deck need? Again, there is a hierarchy here where you should be building your core, your essential staples, and then stuff that's nice to have. When you're looking at, let's say, Kraken control, what staples do I need? Oh, I really need Instant Fusion. Instant Fusion is a critical extender in this deck. I really need 1-for-1 because it acts as an additional extender for Be Tuneful Princess. I need Gozen Match because Gozen Match is an extremely powerful floodgate in this specific type of deck. I need Bahamut Shark because the extra deck is an essential resource, and Totally Awesome is just an amazing card and very easy to bring out in this specific type of deck. Ask yourself those types of questions. Those are the type of questions that you want to be asking when you're thinking about building generic cards. Do not just buy, oh, I'll just buy 3 Veil, or I'll just get 3 Ash Blossom right now, blah blah blah. No, you do not need those cards. You need stuff your deck needs. Staple cards are good because they can go into any deck. Think about what your actual deck needs first before you start putting in the patchwork filler work. You want to buy some staples. You're telling me I have 9 slots left in my main deck. I need some going second cards. And I hear you. Going second cards, going first cards are very, very important for any deck. And although these are not as critical as your main essential core and staple core cards, they are still very, very critical when it comes to sort of closing out games and having the general advantage over your opponent. But again, your cards that you're crafting should service the deck you're putting them in. Don't just craft them because they're generically good. Don't just craft Ghost Ogre and Ghost Bell because, oh, they're a hand trap, they must generically be good. Don't just craft like Mystical Space Typhoons because, oh, this card is generically good and I want to have it. Think about what deck you are building first and put in hand traps in order to suit it. Put in going second cards that your deck might not natively be able to break boards without unless you have these cards. Look at my ABC list. I'm thinking to myself, this deck has a really difficult time playing through really heavy negate monster boards. I need to put in Forbidden Droplet because not only am I able to play into these very heavy combo boards, but it also synergizes because I'm able to get my pieces into the graveyard for ABC Dragon Buster because it has that sort of graveyard synergy. When you're looking at cards such as Max C and Ash Blossom and Effect Veiler, these are all cards that are sort of meta calls because I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to likely be playing against a lot of combo and a lot of mid-range decks. Max C, Ash Blossom, and Effect Veiler are all extremely good cards at dealing with these sort of strategies. Again, ask yourself, what cards should I put in order to counter the metagame as a whole, and for my deck to sort of have a silver bullet against? Again, you want to ask yourself, how can your cards that you're crafting service your deck and overall strategy, not just, oh, which card is the best and when should I craft it? Because if you're crafting Axis Code-Talker and Hauka Fibrax when your main deck is True Draco, maybe you have your priorities out of whack. So, you've opened a bunch of packs, you've crafted everything, and now you want some dust. You want to craft a second deck, you want to craft some more staples, and you're asking yourself, what should I juice? And the answer is, ask yourself what you're realistically never gonna play. When you think about it, a person only plays maybe about like 10 to 15 decks throughout their entire Yu-Gi-Oh career. Maybe at the upper maximum 25 to 30 if you're like a professional player or you're playing like really actively throughout maybe like 10-12 years. But realistically, most people only bother to learn maybe like 5 to like 10 decks. I realistically have never gone above like 15, and to be fair, a lot of those decks were like really simplified, just like monkey flip Ooga Booga. You really have to ask yourself what sort of cards that you are going to keep, because again, when you disenchant cards, you are losing that dust. You are trading in 30 dust or 30 potential saved dust for basically 10 dust that you're basically going to be using right now. That is not a positive investment. Who would have guessed that 30 is more than 10? However, you shouldn't feel bad about dusting cards that you just don't give a shit about. When I look at Ostinato, I'm like, damn, I am never gonna fucking play Melodious. Like, this deck is goober, so that's why I don't feel any regret when I juice one of these cards. But when I look at a card like Union Carrier, or when I look at a card like Totally Awesome, I'm gonna be like, damn, these are cards that I actively feel like I'm going to be playing in the future. These are staple cards, and they go in decks that I am currently and actively playing. So therefore, because I've either pulled them or I've crafted them, I'm not going to be disenchanting these cards anytime soon, and you should ask yourself that question. What am I going to be playing now? What might I play in the future? And what will I realistically never play? Because again, If you're never going to play these decks, why are you holding on to cards for them? Tip number 7. This might sound kind of fucked up and condescending, but don't build a shit deck. This is really, really confusing, but again, just bear with me here on this one. Think about when you're getting into Yu-Gi-Oh! You're fresh into the game, you pull out some fucking dog shit, you slap that shit on the table, and you get your cheeks clapped 0-2. And that happens again, and again, and again, and again. What do? What do you do in that situation? You pick up either a better deck, you pick up a deck that has more intricacies, more power, more combo lines, or you quit Yu-Gi-Oh! Overall. That is the sort of reality of people who sort of get into this game thinking that they can get away with playing like Structure Deck Turbo. Unfortunately, you are not really able to get that far into the game from a competitive or learning standpoint, even just when it comes to personal development. Overall, if you're playing suboptimal decks, it is completely fine. I play a lot of bad decks. It is completely fine to build and enjoy these bad decks. I am a bad deck shit enjoyer. I built Kragan Control. I built ABC. I built True Draco. These decks are ass, but I love them and I enjoy playing them. However, I also realized that, damn, this shit was a waste of UR dust. This shit was a horrible investment that I would never recommend anyone else do. You have to be honest with yourself when you're telling yourself, okay, I am on a limited budget. I can only maybe spend $100 maximum on this game. Or maybe you're completely free to play because you're a kid. That is something that you have to really ask yourself, do I want to play this game solely for fun and I'm just going to drop it within a month, which is its own argument. Like, do you want to just like have fun with Yu-Gi-Oh! For like a month or two and then just like drop Master Duel, in which case that's your own issues. But if you're trying to learn this game, if you're trying to actively get into the Yu-Gi-Oh! Community, if you're trying to learn the game, if you're trying to develop as a player, I would not recommend building a bad deck. You can build Rainbow Invoked Naturia. That is something you are free to do, but just don't expect to learn, develop, or grow from playing that. Save your UR dust for a deck that is competent in at least some way. Buy a deck that, although you may not enjoy as much as Invoked Mech Knight, like poo-poo pee-pee, some random garbage Invoked variant, it is still a deck that is playable and you can realistically win with. That is my ultimate advice. Play a deck that you can at least realistically win with and not like Blue Eyes Rock Burn. That's gonna be it. Be sure you are spending your money wisely. This game can be very expensive. It will eat at your soul and your credit card. And again, just be very, very sure you are spending your money and gems and resources wisely. The last thing I want for any of you guys to do is start complaining about fucking meta sheep ruining your Master Duel experience when you're playing like, I don't know, Dragon Maid FTK. So, yeah, it's gonna be it. See ya.